Good afternoon, good evening, good morning from wherever you are. Let us know where you're watching us from and welcome you to Uganda Crossroads. Now this week has been a very interesting week, not only to politics, economics, but also to our social life. We do also understand that yesterday it was Women's Day, and that's why today Alex Nekatu is not with us here on Uganda Crossroads, because we decided to celebrate with her Women's Day. So we want to thank you so much for being part of Uganda Crossroads as we introduce a new beginning of Uganda. Those are the discussions we always have here with the different panelists. My name is David Lubura. This has been a great week in the political arena of our country. We saw what happened on Thursday. Dr. Kiza Besigye was on NBS, which is a local network in Uganda, and NTV, we had Honorable Bobby Wine. So those were the trending stories that happened this entire week. Many people have come up to speak good and bad about these two leaders. That's how politics is always played, and we always acknowledge it, believe it, and take it up. But the most important part is how we want to see the Uganda of today and the Uganda of tomorrow. So tonight, or today, or this evening, I want to welcome you again here on Uganda Crossroads, Live MTV, Live and Campfire TV USA. We are live on all our platforms, and we thank you for being part of our programs always. My name again is David Lubura, and in the studio today we have, since yesterday was Women's Day, today I'm with Hillary. We are only two in the studio just to, to go through everything that's going on in respect for the women that have always done a greater job in our country. Hillary, I want to thank you for joining me again. We last met a couple of months ago, and when we were here in a discussion on Uganda Crossroads, but it's a pleasure to have you again and be with you and have a discussion about what's going on in our politics. So
I'm always honored to be here.
Yeah, so you've been part of different organizations, and you've been part of basically non-profit making organizations and profit making organizations. You've represented Uganda in the United Nations and others. Now yesterday was a Women's Day, where people celebrated the importance of women in our society. They have transpired everything. So what does it mean to you as Hillary?
Yes, I would like also to first of all say belated Happy Women's Day to all the women in all parts of the world. We are here to celebrate you today, and we shall be doing each and everything possible to ensure that we fight for your rights, because women's rights are human rights. So to me, as Hillary, as a concerned Ugandan, as a global citizen, I look at women's rights as something that we have to prioritize highly, more so in today's 21st century. Because you see, it all began years back in 1901, when the US first, brought about the women's rights to vote, because years then they didn't have any voting rights. So from there again in 1975, we saw also the United Nations coming up to ensure that it gives a platform, a recognition to the women in order to empower them. So these are the days that we have to celebrate always, to ensure that there is equality for all men and women in the world in order to have a better world today. So looking at women issues in our country today, of course, we've come from a very long journey, but again we have lots of things to do, because if you look at the women today in our country under this dictatorship of Mr. Museveni, trust me or not, things are not so good. So looking at women in the sector of politics, they are also in the sector of health, in the sector of education, in the sector of agriculture, which is our economic backbone. You see that a lot has to be done, and this president has done less to ensure that it empowers women. So when we talk about women emancipation, of course, in other countries like Rwanda, which is our neighbor, you see that they've tried to create that equality. You see that in their parliament, they have the 50-50 in their parliament. But again, if you come to our parliament or legislation, you see that we have the figures are below 50%. So we still have a lot to do. And again, looking at also the women who have made it to the top in our country, you see that it's only a small number of women. You just start to name them. So of course you talk about Alitwala Rebecca Kadaga, who is the Speaker of our Parliament. Then talk about also the former Kampala Capital City Authority Executive Director Jennifer Musi. Actually, I was with Musi at Harvard Kennedy School this Thursday. Right. She's here at Harvard with us for some good time, and the Bloomberg Fellowship. And again, also go to women like Allen Kajina, go to women like this Secretary General of NRM Party, that's Patrice Lumumba. Go to the Chief Whip of NRM, that's Ruth Nankabira. Then go to the IGG, Irene Mliagonja. Then go to also the head of the Anti-Corruption Unit, Lieutenant Colonel Edith Nakalema. So it's only a few of those women. So they've been able to make it at the top. But again, we see that according to the system of Mr. Museveni that has failed, the women who are on top, they've not been able to throw the rope to the women who are at the bottom to ensure that they also climb and get up there. So we still have a very huge challenge to ensure that we can create that equality that we want to see in our Uganda today. And again, there are very many issues that we have to liberate women from. Because today in our country, Uganda, you see that women are still perceived by very men to be in the kitchen cooking, which is not okay in today's world, and we have to fight that. And again, you see very many women are still enduring sexual abuse. So you've seen very many cases of sexual abuse, sexual harassment, domestic violence that is being committed to our mothers, to our sisters. And these are things that are not okay today. You see that also women have to, they are perceived to be dependent on men, that you have to ensure that you wait for the money to be put on the table by your husband or your boyfriend at the end of the day. So they call it akamenza. So we are trying to fight all those things. And again, look at women. Some people think that they are the ones who are supposed to go and fetch water. They are the ones who are supposed to raise the children alone without the help of the men. So all those things, or the stereotypes, they have to change today in our country if we are to empower women. So this government has done a less to ensure that it empowers women. Then go to agriculture, which is our kind of backbone.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I was going. Where do you see, because we understand that many men own farms in our country, and they do most of the business programs for our agriculture. Where do we see women coming up? Of course, we also know that there's some women who are playing a part in improving the agriculture sector of the country. If not, they're the greatest farmers we have, though they are not nationally recognized. What comes into your minds when something like that happens?
Yes, of course, you have to first of all acknowledge that women in our country, they are still being looked as a marginalized group because of the different perceptions of the men today. And again, going back to your question of agriculture, because it's like almost 70% of Ugandans, they are engaged in agriculture to ensure that they earn a living from it. And again, out of the 70%, trust me, you'll see that according to the data, about 45% it's women who are engaged in that sector. And they are doing lots of subsistence farming to ensure that at the end of the day, they sustain, they give better livelihoods to their families and to their children to ensure that they can survive in this hard situation that Mr. Museveni has put us in. So we've seen that the government has not done a lot to ensure that it empowers women who are in agriculture, because very many of them have tried to engage in small portions of agriculture. They think that they can get some good produce and they can sell it in terms of what we call agribusiness, but the government has failed to put financial mechanisms to ensure that it empowers these women to do agriculture on a broader scale. just like in other countries like Kenya, the way they're doing their thing. And again, the government has also failed to ensure that it looks for the market of the produce that these women are doing in order to ensure that they get money at the end of the day. And if you look at also the food security, mainly the women who are in, like in upcountry, northern, in remote areas, they plant food in abundance, and again, they cannot secure it or store it for longer periods of time. So because there is no food security in our country, and the government has not put any mechanisms that ensure that we have plenty of food that is stored even in times of catastrophes. These women are ending up, wasting a lot of energy. And resources.
So yeah,
and again,
from there,
at the labor also, we are still using the backward, tools of agriculture. So we want to see that the president is trying to modernize agriculture to ensure that the government is easing the agriculture sector, is making it more, attractive to these young women, to ensure that we empower them. Because if we can, increase our financial budget in the agriculture sector, trust me, we'll be doing well, and our GDP will be so far. But again, since the government does not prioritize agriculture and prefers prioritizing issues like security or buying, ammunitions to intimidate Ugandans, then it's a big threat to our country.
Let me first go back to the viewers who are watching us from wherever you are. Please let us know where you're watching us from. If you're in the Middle East, or you're in Africa, Asia, wherever you're watching us from, please let us know. And as you're letting us know, please tell us the person you celebrated yesterday. Was it a lady, your wife, your girlfriend, your mother, or your sister? What happened to you? Tell us and let us know where you're watching us from. Now, from that point, we are looking in the political view. We are looking at the government improving the women's, women empowerment, increasing and all that. Is it the right time for Uganda now to think of what Major or General Nigeria at one time said, that maybe Winnie Byanyima deserves to become the president of Uganda? Is it the right time now that we are seeing women being empowered to get a leader, a president for this case, who is a woman?
Well, of course, any woman in our country has the potential, so long as they have the qualifications to be president of our country today. But again, you see that the system that has been built by this failed regime of Mr. Museveni, it does not create an environment that is friendly to empower women to come up to the political scene or political arena, and they run for office, the top office in our country. So you've seen that women who have tried to also run for such positions, they've been, fought by men. So if you look at the former, this lady, Betty Olive Namisango Kamia, she was once in FDC, and because she wanted to run as the flag bearer, as a flag bearer of Forum for Democratic Change, she was being fought, and she couldn't, handle the pressure. She was instead forced to create our own political party, which is a federal alliance, in order to come and stand for presidents. But again, we've seen also some few women who have been able to come out and compete with these men to the top office in our country. Again, if you look at the history, we had the former first lady of Milton Obote. What's her name? Mama Miria Obote. Right. Yes, she tried also to stand for presidents under the umbrella of Uganda People's Congress. And again, we have also in the previous presidential election, we had Maureen Chalia. However much, of course, you saw how the stereotypes came in when Maureen Chalia tried to stand for presidents. Very many people took her unserious. So very many people also thought that she was a product of dictator Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. So people thought that she was being manipulated in politics of Uganda. And again, we cannot refute such facts, because we've seen Mr. Museveni trying to manipulate women who try to come in politics. And again, we have also Betty Olive Namisango Kamia. We've been talking about that she has tried to stand for president, and never much didn't make it. And if you look at the performance of these women in all those presidential elections, none of them has scored over 2% out of the general elections. So they still have a lot to ensure that we sensitize the public, all the Ugandans, the 40 million Ugandans, that both men and women can become president. So we don't have to see that it's only a man who can become the president of Uganda today. And again, looking at also the women we've talked about, like the Speaker of Parliament, Alitwara Rebecca Kadaga, you've seen that very many men are fighting her simply because she's a woman in our parliament. So they think she can't be the Speaker of our parliament. Very many men have also undermined the Speaker of our parliament. Remember very well the one honorable who is still serving in parliament, Twina Masiko, last year when he said it's right to beat women, it's right to beat your wife. So a legislator in our parliament, a man, is saying it's right to beat your wife. And no actions were taken to this legislator.
Who is responsible for that?
Is still serving in our parliament.
Who is responsible for that? Is it the people or the parliamentarians?
Words coming from men like a minister of that minister to Inamasiko, then it's a major threat. So if you're saying who's responsible about it, then again it goes back to what Bobi Wine has been talking about each and every time, that the power belongs to us, the people. So if we claim back the power, then we can easily say that at Inamasiko, enough is enough of you. Know, sense, if you undermine or demean women, then you are not supposed to be in the parliament of Uganda. Then we as people, we can put pressure to the parliament and we pull you out of the parliament. But because today we don't have the power under the leadership of General Museveni, so it's very hard to remove such people in office. So and again, look at also the previous incident that happened also with Charlie Gonza. When he assaulted a woman, he slapped a woman.
We saw the president coming out, and we also remember the parliament is also
Sergeant Sergeant Esther Namaganda. So that woman, what do you think? What do you think right now she's thinking of men? Do you think tomorrow you're going to find Sergeant Esther Namaganda stopping the men who are driving army cars after a Lieutenant General, retired moreover, slapped her? There's no way, because we've seen such impunity contributing to such tendencies or behaviors in this government of Mr. Museveni.
Isn't that kind of like media propaganda? Because there are allegations that the major didn't beat the woman. It's the bodyguards who did. Isn't that media propaganda or political propaganda?
In this case, you have to always believe what the media is doing, because it's always the media that gives us the news. The person who was recording that video on that very day, he was a journalist at UBC television. He was also slapped by the bodyguards of this retired Lieutenant General Matayo Charlie Gonza. So he is a competent journalist that does his work professionally. So he used his cell phone, his mobile phone, to record the scene. So because they didn't want this thing to come to public, of course they had to assault him also. And again, we've seen also the commander-in-chief, Mr. Museveni, who heads our army. He has done nothing up to now. He just came out recently to make a statement, because he knew that Women's Day is coming up and women are going to put pressure on him. So that's why he came out in disguise to say something. But that Charlie Gonza, if Charlie Gonza wants to fight, then he can go to countries like Somalia, a failed state, and fight the Al-Shabaab or the rebel groups there. But again, what actions has the president done? Because as the commander-in-chief, tell us that you've passed an order. You are removing one title from him. If he's a lieutenant general, then they promote him.
But the thing is, we have courts of law in Uganda, and we also have the justice system. Basically, we have the justice system in the country, and we would expect people who support or disagree.
Yeah.
Okay, people who support the lady and disagree with Matayo Gonza to go to courts of law and report the case. Have they done so?
Well, of course, you see in this incident, of course, you've seen lots of school of thoughts about people who are, supporting the thing and supporting the actions of Charlie Gonza, and also people who are against the actions.
And
of
the basis is
it goes back to the institutions of Uganda, because for many years, for the last 3 decades, we've seen that our institutions, mainly the judiciary, is not functional, because it's getting the powers and orders from the top man, orders from above. So if the court is not functional, then how do you think Esther Namaganda, a police officer, is going to get justice from such an institution. And again, this is not an issue about women only. It's not that we're saying that it was wrong to slap a woman. It's wrong to slap both men and women. So if you are an army officer and you think that we have to pay a price because you went in the 1980s and you fought against the government of Milton Obote II, and you think that we Ugandans are going to pay for a price for your actions, that's deliberately wrong. That's the highest levels of impunity we've seen under this regime of Mr. Museveni, and that's why Bobby Wine is saying enough is enough of this nonsense. That is using a slogan, "Twebereremu," and we fight such impunity in our country to have a better Uganda.
I'm sort of getting to Bobby Wine's case, but I want to go back to Matayo Gonza's case. Now, there is another thought that, you know, he's a major, he's an ambassador, so he needed protection. And it seems to be right that at times when security matters, certain things have to be done.
Now, it goes back to...
we didn't get aside the story of the woman who was beaten. We understand that.
Yes, of course, we had, all sides giving their positions about what happened. And again, looking at also our traffic rules, you have to ask yourself a question. Who has the right of way? How many people have the right of way? Because personally, I know that it's the president, I know it's the Speaker of Parliament, I know it's the Chief Justice, I know it's also the ambulances or the Uganda police that has the sirens on. So at this juncture, at this moment, we've never given the right of way to ambassadors, unless the only thing we give them is bodyguards and also giving them, blue and white number plates only. But saying that they have a right of way, that's not in the Constitution of Uganda. So we have never given such immunity to the Charlie Gonzas. They are just, using the loopholes in this regime of Mr. Museveni, because they know they fought with the president. They can use anything in their means to do whatever they do in this country of Uganda. And we are saying enough is enough of this nonsense. So as people who are awakened, as people who have, sober minds, as people who are free-thinking individuals, we are saying this has to come to an end as soon as possible. So that's why Bobby Wine is saying, can we use Article 1 of our Constitution that talks about the sovereignty of the people? And also, can we use Article 3 that talks about using all means possible to ensure that we save our country from this tyranny?
Yeah, so I want to close that. Matayo Gonza and, of course, the women's rights, which we also do understand. But I want to end with this. Let's imagine that his life was in danger. What would have happened?
So, you see, everyone's life can be in danger. So if you think you are going to give immunity to only people who have a higher caliber, and you are living an ordinary Ugandan, someone who
But he's an ambassador, he represents the country,
yes,
right?
he's an ambassador.
Right.
Of course, we know that that was propaganda, that, they tried to fake that the army officer was sick. Because one, if he's an ambassador, then it shows that this country is not prepared even to take care of ambassadors. So an ambassador, why couldn't they call an ambulance to take him to the hospital? So it shows you that the government has failed even to put health institutions in each and every place to ensure that everyone gets first aid they deserve. So if an ambassador can't access, first aid in that case of emergency in a nearby area, then how about an ordinary Ugandan?
All right,
is this president working for Ugandans, or is just exploiting us? Again, it goes back to, you see, if you look at women issues, go back to the issue of the women who are also being murdered in Entebbe, because over 40 million were being murdered in Entebbe, and this government of General Museveni has never come out to give us a report. Who are the murderers of these women? What actions what actions has the government taken against those murderers? I'm glad that you introduced that. We have to change all these things of looking at women as sources of income, looking at women as because very many Ugandans, when they give birth to a girl child, they think, oh, this is sukari, this is I'm gonna get a lot of bride price. So we should stop also looking at such things like women being a bride price. Women are not bride prices. So we have to fight all those things. And again, look at also the major challenge we are facing today in our country is the problem of teenage pregnancies. this government today has failed to ensure that they solve the issue of teenage pregnancies. Why? If you look at a child, because if you're looking at the education system today, they're telling us that over 50% of those girls who finish primary school, they excel in PLE exams. But again, they're telling us that about 46% of those who finish primary school, they cannot join secondary education. Then it raises a question, is this government trying to empower women or not? Or is it trying to empower a girl child or not? Then look at also what our girls or sisters are going through. They can't afford a cost of a sanitary pad. Because as I speak to you right now, because it's so sad that we are only men in the studio discussing women issues. It would be nice if there was a woman tell you the facts that the cost of a sanitary pad today in our country is, running at 5,000 Ugandan shillings. How many people in Uganda can afford that amount of money to buy a sanitary pad for that for a girl child in education?
Yeah, I want to thank.
Why is the government of Uganda also imposing taxes on sanitary pads? Because for many years we've said this government of Uganda has failed to fight about women issues. Why can't the government remove taxes on sanitary pads to make them affordable to all the girls? Because very many girls are missing out school. So if you're missing out school a week in every month, then that's an injustice to a girl child. So we are saying enough is enough of this nonsense. We have to say Museveni's regime must go and we get a better leadership that is going to reform all these loopholes.
All right, it's great that you've talked about you guys are tired of the government. And I'm glad that you're putting on a people power.
Exactly.
Kev, it's interesting. Last week was a week of drama. That we saw Dr. Besigye on a certain network and we saw Bobby Wine on a certain network. But we're going to focus on Bobby Wine today. Now that people were supported, there's always been so many questions about what People Power is going to do, when and how and why. We of course know why, because they want to see change in the country. They want to see political change in the country.
Yeah.
There's so many disorganizations within the opposition. And you and I agree, I believe.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I want to start with some of the statements that were said by Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi when he was being interviewed. There was where he said that I, meaning him, and Dr. Kizza Besigye are in good terms. Mm-hmm. The reality of the matter is that the politics is not true. Politically, it's not true. You can't say you're in good terms and your bosses, in other words, we the voters, are not in good terms. Is that a right statement for him to say that they're in good terms?
Well, again, it's going to go back to whoever is trying to analyze the situation or the diction that was used by Bobby Wine. Being in good terms means lots of things. So it depends how we're going to perceive it. In one way or the other, I'll agree with his assertion that they are in good terms with Kizza Besigye. Of course, we know there are some loopholes here and there. That the two have failed to show a different image that the public wants to to see, because we may not know what they are planning behind the cameras. That's one thing that we have to acknowledge as people, as the public court, because in very many cases we rush to judge why is this and this happening in such a manner. So the public court has to first, be very slow when it comes to judgment. To me, I see that the opposition is having one agenda, that we want to end tyranny in our country because it has lasted long for 33 years. And we are saying it's a time bomb we're sitting on. So as the opposition, we have to consolidate our energies to ensure that we fight against dictator General Museveni, and he goes out of power.
So we know the fact. We know the matter is as a fact. Mm-hmm. One is defiant. What is people power?
So people power again goes back to what I've talked about and what Bobby Wine has been talking about each time and always, because he was telling you that this is a paraphrase that is coming from our own 1995 Constitution of Uganda, that is talking about Article 1 of our Constitution, the sovereignty of the people, that the people have the power to do each and everything possible, take their country forward. So now, if you're talking about Article 1, people power, it means you, me, and us, we have the power to change the status quo. Because today, if you look at what's happening in our country, we are in a turmoil. So we have to rise up. So in such cases, the Constitution says, Article 3 says, rise up and defend the country by all means. So if you read Article 3, it says also, Article 3 of our Constitution talks about defense of the Constitution. So it says, in any means possible, do whatever it takes to defend your country. So it could be through defiance that FDC with Dr. Kano Kiza Besigye are using, and also it could be through what Bobi Wine is using, because Bobi Wine is saying, go and register, get national IDs. We are going to defeat dictatorship through a democratic election come 2021. So this is what Bobi Wine is saying, that you, your family members, your friends, your neighbors, if you know that the power belongs to you, then it's the time to rise up and we change the status quo. Because we've seen that the minority have oppressed us, the majority, for 33 years. And we are saying enough is enough, because we cannot tolerate any nonsense of Mr. Museveni to stay in power. So I believe that Bobi Wine's message of Article 1 can change the status quo in our country and can build a better Uganda.
You see, I'm always challenged when I go around talking to people about people power. When people ask me about people power, NRM, FDC, and all these other organizations, right. I always sit down and think about, in reality, what is people power? And I'm coming to where I'm going.
Okay.
There is a group that says people power is general, like it takes NRM, opposition, different opposition groups, right?
Yeah.
But when you listen to other groups, which are also part of people power, they say, we are people power, then there is FDC. What comes in your minds when you look at this situation? Because that's where I think the source of this entire disorganization comes from. And I know it's not going to be good for you guys who are in opposition.
Well, of course, from day one, Bobi Wine or Kyagulanyi Robert Sentamu has been very clear with what people power is, because he has time and again given us the who, what, when, where, why of people power. So when it comes to the issue of who is people power, so he has told us that it's you, the person who is in NRM, it's the NRM, the ruling party, it's you, the person who is in DP, it's you, the person in UPC, it's you, the person in JEMA, it's you, the person in FDC, it's you, the person who is independent, that you do not believe in any political party, that you can also embrace this ideology of people power. So in other words, people power is all of us. So whether you are a doctor, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a garbage collector, whether you're a peasant, whether you're a teacher, whether you are a tax collector, whether you are a driver, so each and every one who feels oppressed in our country today, he is part of people power. We do not segregate. We are not tribal, so we include all tribes. Whether you're coming from the north, the east, central, west, or south, you are people power. We do not also look at your religion. Whether you're born again, Christian, Pentecost, or Muslim, you are people power. So people power is inclusive. It's looking at all the people of Uganda, not separating, who is put aside.
You know, I'm always interested in knowing how some organizations do really work, because I'm still looking for who is the spokesperson of people power. Because we don't remember the days of Martin Luther King. We used to have these people who used to speak on behalf of the leaders of the organization or the movement then. So I'm still looking for who is the real
you see, each generation has different strategies of winning revolutions. So if you're talking about the civil rights movement of the years of Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or Rosa Parks and Margaret Thatcher and so on, for them they also had different challenges by then. And again, if you look at today's 21st century challenges, they are also different from the ones that they had in the 1950s or 70s. So today there are some dynamics in our political arena. Because again, if you're also looking at the political arena today of our generation, the millennials or the young people, you see that it's different from the generation of Mr. Museveni of the 1980s or 1970s in the history of our country. Because in the 1970s and 1980s, you could win presidents through starting a war That's why you see they are called bushmen. They went to the bush and fought. They used guns. But today we are saying, no, we cannot go back to the dynamics of the 1970s and 80s. And today's 21st century, we are going to use the power of the people. If we say we want you out of power, we can rise up and force you out of power. We can also use peaceful means by going to the ballot paper. One man, one vote. And at the end of the day, we are going to know who is the winner. So you are not going to expect to see any spokesperson from our movement, because this is a pressure movement. That is a pressure group. It's putting, a lot of pressure to the government of Mr. Museveni, and it's giving them sleepless nights. And at the end of the day, you're seeing them panicking each and every day because they can't expect anything from us. They're just getting surprises each and every day. So such a pressure group is very hard to fight because the government up to now, they've failed to know the strategies on how to counterattack our pressure group. Yeah. And for us, we are seeing nothing but victory at the end of the day, because this is how we want to bring a new leader with new ideas to take our country forward. I like how you have brought that up, but let's look at how other members of the opposition have talked about people power, especially from the incident when Dr. Besigye was attacked after his interview on CBS Radio. Honorable Namboza came out and said, hey, this is a group for Bobby Wine, or people power. This is a group led by people claimed, Mobidu James and others who attacked Dr. Besigye. Now, you claim that you are under the same umbrella and you want to see a positive change. Do you really think there's going to be a change in Uganda when the two factions are fighting against one another? So if you look at what happened here in the US, the 9/11 incident, when Osama bin Laden attacked the US, do they say that it's Pakistan who attacked the US, or they say Osama bin Laden? Well, there are two allegations. So again, no, there are two allegations because they say that Saudi Arabia was behind it, and up to today we know that Saudi Arabia was behind it. And actually, there's some allegation that Osama bin Laden wasn't part of the game. Well, of course, that goes back to the school of thoughts that are coming up always, because it's inevitable for such school of thoughts to come up. But again, looking at this thing, if you say that is it Mobiru, that Mobiru is affiliated to our ideologies? Yeah, of course, because he wants to become a candidate in Uganda. It doesn't mean that the entire people power movement, attacked Kizza Besigye. No, because if you remember very well, last weekend we say that there could be like different conspiracy theories about the attack of Kizza Besigye. Because one conspiracy theory that we talked about, we said that it could be Besigye, staging up his own attack, or Forum for Democratic Change, in order to get publicity. Then secondly, we said it could be also sabotage from the ruling party, NRM, because that's how they know, that's what they are good at, because they know that now, how can we create a scene? How can we create confusion? How can we create a conflict within people who are trying to, make sure that the government is out of power? So it's very possible that this government can do such a thing, because it has done it not the first time, but many times. And again, for those who are telling you that it could be Besigye's guys, because they remember very well that in 2015, during the campaign trail, when Besigye was trying to campaign with to try to forge a coalition with TDA, the members or the youth from his party stormed the meeting, and they pulled him out of that meeting. Then the third thought of theory, of course, could be the concerned Ugandans, who are like, no, maybe Besigye, they say that Besigye's time has elapsed, so they want to get a new leader who can take the face of opposition forward. Because you see, in politics, it's always imperative to know when is the time that you are highly appealing to the people, and when is the time that you are no longer, stopping from that point. So if you know that your time has elapsed in politics, create a way, and a new face comes up. Just like during the early 2000s and 90s, obviously, how did the Besigye come to fame? It was through a vacuum that Alhaji Nasser Ntege Sebagala created. So he said that Haja Lagide to Webesija Kalulu. Do you remember that song? Haja Lagide, Alagide, Webesija Kalulu. So there was, of course, Agria Worry. But again, there was also Kizza Besigye. But Sebagala said, no, because if I can't make it, then let's all align behind Kizza Besigye, and we put him in office.
All right.
So as Ugandans, we've given him 4 times. He has failed, and now it's the time, most importantly, that we have a young leader, and we are coming from a country that has the 2nd youngest population in the world. We have a youth leader who is standing up. We can't fail as Ugandans to
all right, here it. So I want to go to the people who are watching us, the people from different parts of the world, the viewers, the audience.
Yeah.
And there's some question I'm going to ask the audience. There's some question I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
If we say that Besigye should give in for Bobi Wine, why not Bobi Wine, who is a good mobilizer, give in for Besigye? Some question I'm posing to you.
Now, because
but let's check what let's hear from our viewers what they have to say. People who are watching us from especially online, Facebook, and other platforms. Let them tell us what they think as you're going on here.
All right. Yes. Yeah, so as I've just told you that we've given Kizza Besigye 4 times,
and he has only won 2 and lost 2, right?
Well, regardless of whether he has won or not, but we have given him an opportunity. But he has not found himself in the State House. So now Ugandans are saying, for the last 20 years, we've lined behind you, and we've not seen any impact. You've been a promise of hope, you've been a promise of change, but we've not seen that change. And now we are saying that we have someone who is not a military man, someone who is so young, someone who is so energetic, someone who is so informed, and someone who is appealing to all Ugandans, all generations. So we are saying the time is now for a civilian to become the president of Uganda. The time is now for also Kizza Besigye to line up behind someone else, and we get ourselves in State House. Because you see, the interviews we've talked about when Kizza Besigye was being interviewed at CBS radio station with Medi Nsedeko, he said at one moment, if I can recall, that in 2005 he was being forced to come and run. So he was found in South Africa, and then a delegation of Ugandans went to South Africa, and they told him to come and run. Then he ran. In 2016, he was telling us he was not prepared, but people forced him to come and run for presidency, and then he ran. But he was saying, most importantly, that he was not prepared at all. And in fact, he said that this was the least presidential election that I was not prepared. But he ran. So as a concerned citizen, as a free-thinking individual who analyzes all those things that Besigye is telling us, I'll ask him a question. I mean, why would you listen to Ugandans if your mind is telling you not to run? Can't you stand your mind? Can you stand your ground and tell them no? I've ran for many years. Things have failed. I'm not running. Besigye shouldn't fool us.
All right, so
so you see, for me, I don't want I don't want Besigye or people in Forum for Democratic Change to think that people in people power are fighting their allies in FDC. No, for us, we want to see these two people coming together. So if it means that they have a one-to-one meeting, let them go for that one-to-one meeting. If they need to come in public and they discuss these issues, then we see who is bringing what on the table, who wants what, and then we shall forge a way. You see, and we can line up behind one candidate.
I'm going to use
Bobi Wine has not said that he's the one who's going to be behind or raise the flag to be the flag bearer of people power. So anybody from people power can become a flag bearer. You can see Gerard Karuhanga from the west. He can come a flag bearer.
Let's be clear.
Can become a flag bearer.
Let's be clear and honest to ourselves. and the people who are watching us, do you really feel and believe that Bobi Wine will give him somebody to come and contest as a president and not him?
Yes, everything is possible. Everything is possible. And you see, Bobi Wine is a man of his words. If you've been following him for years and years, Well, it's not that I've known him for many years, but at least I started associating myself with Bobi Wine, I think, in 2015, where I was running a campaign of supporting the children's education worldwide. That was called Up for School, and he was actively engaged in supporting me and also with all the international leaders. But he is a man of his words. And again, you see, in that interview, Bobi Wine was asked also that did Kano Kizza Besigye consult you when he was coming up with the people's government? Because the same question was asked to Kizza Besigye while he was at CBS. So Kizza Besigye said yes, he consulted Bobi Wine, and Bobi Wine was saying the opposite. So it's a question of now who is telling the truth.
All right, and I'm glad you.
Besigye. So for me, I would love as much as possible to see the two people coming together in a secret meeting, and they come up with a plan.
In the words of Bobi Wine, in the words of Bobi Wine, on Thursday, he said, "I respect Dr. Kizza Besigye. He has played a very monumental role in this country."
Yeah.
On top of that, he said, Dr. Besigye has been and is still a role model to me.
Yeah,
in other words,
totally agree with him.
So, do you think that Dr. Besigye can lie to somebody he has inspired?
No, as I've told you, if you go and listen to that interview, Bobi Wine, asserted that Kano Kizza Besigye never consulted him about the formation of the people's government. Because for me, I personally don't believe in the people's government, because they don't have the power. So if Besigye says we want power and we can make decisions, take our country forward, so in the people's government, do they have the power? What power do they have? There is nothing. So tell me anything vivid the people's government has done for our country ever since they got established.
I'm sure the viewers are going to give us answers for that.
So that's why I'm telling you that let's stop this circus of putting up things of people's government. The politics has changed, and now that's why you see our generation of millennials. We are saying we are tired of such politics.
All right, so
we want to see politics that is going to take our country forward.
I'm
so
glad.
We are tired of playing the decooler politics. We want something that is going to work for each and every Ugandan.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you've talked about going forward. And Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi, while still in some interview which we're discussing right now, he says when he was asked about the campaign he had in Arua when he attacked Dr. Besigye's supporters, this is what he said.
Those are allegations. I'm not because I've never seen Bobi Wine attacking any supporters of
that's what we saw, because he started calling people to join his camp while Dr. Besigye was also campaigning in the same area. So this is what he said. We had gone in a campaign where I was supporting one person and Dr. Kizza Besigye was also supporting another, right? So the reason I've asked you this question, we're looking at 2021.
Yeah.
You and I know that FDC has a constitution that they respect so much based on what happened in Chad on the East, which I don't think maybe the viewers who are watching us from probably Facebook can let us know whether there has been a constitutional review in the FDC that they can support an outsider and not their member. We see in 2021 Dr. Besigye standing as a president and Honorable Bobi Wine as a president. Will that make sense to you?
To me as a millennial, I can tell you that it's going to be impossible for Ugandans, and more so for millennials, to allow Dr. Kano Kizza Besigye, retired, to appear on a ballot paper. And if Besigye is so wise, I think he should listen to what Ugandans are saying, because his time has elapsed as the face of opposition. He should acknowledge the facts that there is a new face of opposition. Because however much Bobi Wine is independent, he's still in opposition, because in the opposition we have one agenda: to remove dictatorship from our country. So Kizza Besigye should stop lying to Ugandans. Let him unite. as Bobi Wine calls him his role model, let him nurture him very well. Let him tell him all the policies that can, build a better Uganda. Let them, consolidate all the synergies we have in the constitution. And we fight one man, dictator Museveni, to get him out of power. But if Besigye makes a mistake to appear on the ballot paper, trust me, Ugandans are going to hate Kizza Besigye for the rest of his life. So he is a man who has built his brand for years. But if he makes a mistake, it's going to destroy his brand. Ugandans are going to lose hope in him. So I think as a freedom fighter and as a person with a great vision for our country, he should, call Bobi Wine and they sit together. Because Besigye is like a father to Bobi Wine. So it should be, right now we should look at Kizza Besigye as the father of opposition. He should call all the seniors in the opposition. Let, Poka Wanga Simogerere, Kizza Besigye, Norbert Mao, Raro Tunu, and others, sit down with Bobi Wine and they forge a solution for a better Uganda. We don't want to see our forces being divided, because once we get divided or we work in segments, then we are giving, a very landslide victory, a very big landslide victory to Mr. Museveni come 2021. So as Ugandans, let's keep telling Kizza Besigye one thing: create vacuum for someone new. Because Ugandans, I'm sure beyond doubt that Kizza Besigye is seeing what's happening on the ground. I'm sure he's seeing the love Ugandans are showing to this young man, Chagulanyi Robert Sentamu. So what's so hard for Kizza Besigye also to line up behind him? Because if very many people supported him in FDC, so what's so hard also to support someone new? Because we know that if you look at also the past revolutions we're talking about, like the civil rights movement in this country we're in, USA, I can tell you that those who fought years ago, they're not the ones enjoying the fruits today. Because if you look at Martin Luther King Jr., he fought for civil rights, but he never became the first African-American president of USA. It was rather Barack Obama. So that should be a lesson to Kizza Besigye. Malcolm X also fought for justice, but today it's us foreigners who are enjoying the fruits of the sacrifice that was made by those people. Rosa Parks said, "I won't give up my seat in the bus." So today we can sit in the front seats of the buses in the United States. So it goes back to Kizza Besigye that you can be also playing the role of the Martin Luther Kings they played. But at the end of the day, you have to know that you may not become the president of Uganda. Someone else could become the president of Uganda. Just go also to Congo. Because look at the father of Tshisekedi.
All right,
he fought for many years against the government of Kabila. But the son became the president.
Let me take you back.
These are lessons.
Let me take you back to the post that was issued today, the statement that was issued today from Bobi Wine's account to Bobi Wine.
It was very good.
When he quoted Theodore Roosevelt, he said, "It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how strong man stumbles or where the door of deeds could have done them better. Yeah. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and great enthusiasm. The great devotions, who spends himself in worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." Now, in this post, Bobi Wine was kind of responding to people like TVO who came out to, criticize him, Baby Cool and others, right? Oh, yeah. That was true. But isn't this a sign of weakness to a leader to come out and accept that he's really falling down while others are getting high?
No, you see, a true leader has to acknowledge, any weaknesses on him, and that's how we can move forward. And again, he was giving us a lesson to pick up, because if you get some take-homes from the statement he posted on his Twitter handle and Facebook, he was telling us, one, let's be slow to critique those who sacrifice each and everything in their lives to ensure that they build a new foundation, a new stronger foundation for our country. So this does not look at Bobi Wine alone. Of course, also looking at the person we've been talking about, Dr. Kizza Besigye, that yes, he has sacrificed a lot for his life and everything, because you know what Kizza Besigye has gone through. And you see the pain he has endured under this dictatorship of General Museveni. But at the end of the day, we have to appreciate the bricks he has laid towards building a stronger democracy in our country. Because trust me, if it wasn't the forces of people like Kizza Besigye, perhaps we didn't have the return of political parties in our country, because they were abolished and they're coming back. And now the president is telling you that by 2021, there would be no opposition in Uganda.
And that's what is actually, before we go on, actually that's where I'm seeing well, President Museveni's words coming to pass, because he said by 2021 there won't be any opposition, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing people power movement coming up. We're seeing opposition being divided. We're seeing one faction saying we are people power, others say people power is general. But even the leadership of people power believes that FDC is not part of people power.
Now, you see, conflicts are good, because when
you have a common enemy,
we are happy that they've come at an earlier stage, so we can easily cover all those loopholes. Then we build something stronger at the end of the day, and we defeat General Museveni come 2021, even before 2021, because we see that we have the numbers, we see that we have the potential to win State House come 2021. So everything that is happening today is helping us to grow stronger and stronger. Because if these things happened at a later stage, say in December of 2020, then it would be so hard for us to know how we can move forward. But it's still too early. And again, if such things, we can sit down and find a solution in order to win presidents of our country.
Always when I look into the discussions that these people always have, one thing that comes into my mind is where we're going. Because when you look at what Honorable Bobi Wine and the team, which of course I'm glad that you're part of that team that supports people power, apart from fighting one another, they say that President Museveni and his NRM team has planted spies in these organizations. Now, here's a question. Here's a question.
Yeah.
The opposition knows that they have spies within them, and they continue to associate with them, right? So who is losing and who is winning?
Now, you see, in politics, you treat each and everyone as, a brother or sister. We are comrades. There is no permanent enemy in politics. And that's why you see that you've seen some people left the NRM and they went back to the NRM, and General Museveni welcomed them warmly and even gave them some ministerial posts, and also some were made ambassadors. So that's how politics is. And again, it's inevitable for you to have people who are spying you in your political parties, because Mr. Museveni knows the game of sabotage in politics, because he has been in this field for years. So his experience can easily tell him how to disorganize different political parties. And that's why I'm not surprised to see people like Beatrice Anywa or Mama Mabida making such statements that she's going to vote for Mr. Museveni come 2021.
Yeah, because now...
So this is not something that is new today in the history of in the politics of our country. So what the opposition has to do is to remain, resilient and focused on what they want, because we cannot fight people who are joining the movements. Because today, at times, you're going to see people who are critiqued or called out wrongfully. So you've also seen this thing on social media. So today, you're going to say X, Y, and Z, and people are going to say, oh, yali de, this guy was bought. So I think we should move away from that politics of saying whoever has a different political opinion, that he was bought by the government. So we should learn how to welcome people of different opinions, and that's how we can move forward. Because at times it's so hard for people to engage in uncomfortable conversations. But again, if you want to move forward, such conversations are so imperative for any country, for any community, for any organization to move forward. Because that's when you're going to know what are my weaknesses, then what are my strengths. Then that's how, again, you're going to know what strategies can I use in order to deter spies.
Right. So I want to conclude
get a better.
I want to conclude the discussion of Bobby Wine from whatever he said on Thursday. Yeah. I watched it over 5 times just to as a media personnel to look out for things I want to where the errors were, because sometimes in the media we always look out for where errors are so that we can build on that. He was good actually. He made wonderful statements and I'm glad for that. Yeah. But there's certain things I'm looking at that I wanted more to hear from the president of the movement. Things about the health. You've talked about women and you've talked about everything tonight, and I'm so glad that you've mentioned all of that. What is the plan, the actual plan for people power in bringing about these developments we talk about? Because we have always complained about poor infrastructure, poor Museveniism, poor everything. What is the plan? Now, you may not be the spokesperson for the organization or the movement, but at least you have a little bit of information what has to be done. Because that's what I was looking for.
Yes, you see, very many people have been, making, different comments on social media about the assertions that were made by Chagulanyi Robert Sentamu when he was hosted on NTV by Patrick Kamara. But again, so some people even reach to an extent of saying that Bobby Wine is not, the right person to run for office, because they were saying that he's still young, so he can't win office. He needs more time. But they are forgetting that you don't have to, first become a member of parliament to become the president. No. And even Mr. Museveni, did Mr. Museveni become a member of parliament before he became the president? Of course, the answer is no. Because if you remember very well, Mr. Museveni tried to become the president, a member of parliament in 1980, but he lost the election to Sam Kutesa. So I remember very well they were contesting for the Mbarara North constituency. So by then, Museveni was affiliated to the Uganda Patriotic Movement. And by then, Sam Kutesa was under Democratic Party, because right now they are in NRM, both of them. So Museveni lost to Sam Kutesa.
All right, so
and he resorted to going to the war and to become president. So now back to your question.
All right.
You see, those who are critiquing Bobby Wine today, I think what he has posted today on his social media accounts gives them the answer. And you have to also know that Bobby Wine is not an expert in each and every field. So do not expect Bobby Wine to give you, a perfect answer on each and everything, because he's not an expert in each and everything. So today I could be an expert in education or human rights, but when I have no knowledge about health. But again, behind the scene, I have a think tank of people who are coming from all those sectors, from health, from technology, from peace and security, from infrastructure, from education, from human rights. So at the end of the day, we can build a policy that is going to policies that are going to reform our country. And again, do not expect me also to give you the policies of people power, how we are going to change Uganda. I may personally, as Hillary, give you
your opinions,
what you would like to see that I think can change Uganda, then to have a better inclusive world. Right. Now, for me, as a person, as a champion of education, I believe education deserves a very huge investment today. Because if you look at our national budget, education receives less than 7%.
Right.
So if we can at least allocate education about 20% of our national budget, then we can ensure that each and every child can attain an education. Because as Nelson Mandela Madiba said, education is the greatest weapon that can change the world. So if you cannot educate a child or a generation, then you are stampeding on the economic growth of your country. So if all people are educated, then you can know that, one, you are going to create people who are innovative, then you are going to create people who can also create different employment opportunities. Right. Then people are going to make informed decisions at the end of the day, which is going to create a less burden to the government. Now, go also to health, because again, we cannot, live without health. Right. So you have also to ensure that you give education a bigger percentage of, finances. These are my own views. They are not views of people power. They are not views of, Bobby Wine. And again, go to technology, because today they are telling you each and every country is going technology. They are trying to ensure that they invest a lot in technology, because last weekend we talked about how Rwanda has launched its first satellite to ensure that they provide internet at least to 40% of primary schools in remote areas. If you look at also today that in technology, we're talking about artificial intelligence, but go to our country today, what artificial intelligence do we have that can enable us to compete with countries like Rwanda or South Africa?
Until guys, just in simple terms.
First hold on, because you asked me as Hillary. Then the other thing as Hillary, what I can tell you, we have to amend the Constitution and we give back the power to the people.
Now, so many people have got a problem with that statement.
The power. No, it's so simple.
Who doesn't have the power?
I don't have power.
Why don't you have power?
Because one man, Museveni, took over the power.
From the people.
Exactly.
Using the Constitution.
From the majority of the people. So today, trust me, as I've told you, as we talk about women issues today, or women challenges today in our country, I was telling you that they can't do nothing if the president has no political will. So it's only the one man order from above that can enable you to achieve what he wants today. If he says no to your project, then there is no way you are going to be achieving it. And then again, also look at the issue of the young people, because today, if you do not prioritize the issues of young people in your national policies, if you do not bring young people on the table and to ensure that they also engage in the formulation of policies, to ensure that you allocate them finances or resources to empower them and engage them, then you are building yourself a time bomb that will explode. So as Hillary, I'd love to see that young people are highly prioritized. Then human rights. Because the issue of human rights,
I want to get a quote from Facebook. From Barbara Hazel. She says, if the Honorable Minister of Finance can term the economy to be going sweet, where were the intellectuals? Now, I want to reverse the same statement. There is a situation where people power believers tend to also hide away from the real questions, and they give us political answers.
Like which question? Because I think
on many occasions,
personally you're facing me, so if you can ask any question, then I'm going to ask any question that you ask me. So tell me which question have I
because on many occasions people power members have been asked, where are your policies? And people expect the members of People Power to tell us or to tell the world that, probably, we want to work on the roads, this is how we're going to get the money and all this. That's what people are looking for. And the public hasn't gotten that yet.
No, of course, I've just told you, I've just answered the question. I've told you that we, as the people of People Power, because personally, I'm not going to give you the position paper the position paper or policies Bobby Wine has in order to better our country. But I'll be giving you only my personal opinions.
Right. And you're entitled to that.
Exactly. Until that right time comes, when Bobby Wine launches the manifesto of his ideologies, then that's when we shall know as Ugandans that he's thinking about this when it comes to technology. He's thinking about this when it comes to empowering women and children or the youth. He's thinking about this to stabilize the economy, to look for markets or to boost our trade in the region and also at the international level. He is doing this to better our foreign relations, because today, as you know, we don't have a foreign affairs minister. Sam Kutesa is being hunted for in each and every country. Once he comes to the US, they're going to indict him because he took a bribe from Patrick Ching-Ping. So we know that he's exhibitor 1510. So such things have to ensure that. Now go to agriculture, which is our economic backbone. Of course, we have, because if you say that agriculture is our economic backbone, that over 70% of Ugandans are engaged in that, and you are giving agriculture less than 11% of our national budget, then it means you are creating more bottlenecks to the development of our country. So as a president, by common sense, we would think that the failed General Museveni would highly prioritize agriculture in order to boost our economy.
So
but there is no way you're going to boost our GDP without highly prioritizing agriculture. And again, going back to your question also with Bobi Wine, because very many people were saying that I didn't understand the assertions he made, because they asked him about the fiscal policy. But again, with fiscal policy, people have to understand that you are looking at how you are going to use the government revenues and also that are collected, and also the government expenditures in order to foster your economic growth. So, of course, Bobi Wine talked about very many things that people were joking about. Because when he talked about impunity, people were like, we didn't understand him. But to me, as someone, because I saw logic in his assertion, that you don't just get an answer very direct. He was saying that now with impunity, with the likes of Ali Gonza, Matthew Matayo was talking about, that when such people are left hanging in society, then you are going to waste taxpayers' money. One, you're going to drag that guy to courts of law, because we know Esther Namaganda, the police officer, has to get justice also. So she has to sue that army officer, and she will be compensated by the courts of law. So by doing that, you are wasting taxpayers' money. So in other words, you are diverting the resources that were meant to build roads, or to buy sanitary pads for girls, or to buy beds in hospitals, and you're paying them in such fines. And then look at also the government, because they're telling us that the government is now compensating Ingrid for the way she was harassed by Uganda police. So all those signs of impunity. And now go to the recent saga of Bank of Uganda Pro, because they tell us that the likes of Baji and the governor of Bank of Uganda, Mutebire, Sekabida and the likes, they left us with a loss of over 1 trillion Ugandan shillings. So that level of impunity, because they were corrupt and the government has failed to put them to books of justice. He failed to recover our assets, because 7 banks have been defunct under the government of Mr. Museveni. Then we are running at a loss of over 1 trillion Ugandan shillings, which is becoming a burden to our national debt, national debt, and we are rather running to China, countries like China. So in other words, think about because we would use that money to maybe create employment opportunities.
I want to end this discussion here, the Bobi Wine interview, with this final thing about 2021. Now, I'm glad that Bobi Wine, technically, he's going to stand as a candidate, technically. And we also, Bobi Wine, Dr. Kizza Besigye is also going to stand. We already know that President Museveni is coming back. That's no doubt. The SEC confirmed that.
Of course, with the SEC meeting, we saw that.
I'm looking at 3 giants in one game. 2 of them are fighting one. And the 2 need supporters. Taking me back to the statement, he said, I was supporting my team as Dr. Kizza Besigye was also supporting his team. We're having 100% voters.
Yep.
We're fighting for 100% voters. 2 individuals fighting 1 man. Who is going to win? Because who is a winner here? I see President Museveni winning, because he's won, and these 2 guys are going to divide their votes into 2. So he's capable of, 1, taking those who are NRM members and those who sympathize with NRM, and those who will just wake up on that day and say, you know what, I'm tired of this nonsense that people fight.
Of course,
who is winning in that?
Well, of course, as I've told you, that it's good that this minor issue has just happened before elections, so we have time to fix such a minor thing. So trust me, very soon these 2 leaders are going to sit on the table, and they forge a solution to that thing that is happening. because they all know that whatever is happening currently is not benefiting us, the people who want to see change in our country, but it's rather benefiting the person who's in power and who has been in power for 33 years. So let's give them time. Let's give them time, because as I've told you that such conflicts are good. They're gonna show you all the weaknesses, and again, at the end of the day, if you're so smart to cover all the loopholes, then you can sit down, because it's all about dialogue. So dialogue is going to help us. So you've seen that DP with their coalition, at least for them, they're willing to ensure that there is one candidate against Mr. Museveni. So, and again, for Forum for Democratic Change, let's give them time. So, because there is time for dialogue. So for me, I'm very positive about it, that very soon all people on the opposition, or all those people who are fighting dictator General Museveni, they'll sit down and come up with one candidate. But you agree with me that General Museveni is going to win this election? I am very sure beyond doubt Mr. Museveni is going to lose the election fair and square. All right. Here is for sure that President Museveni is going to win this election. Museveni is going to lose the election fair and square, 2021. I'm sure beyond doubt.
That's what we're expecting to come in come 2021, and we are glad that people are enjoying and having fun out of this entire political saga that we're having back in Uganda. Us in the United States, we always follow up on the stories, and we are willing to support wherever needed in terms of bringing the political change. Now I want to end, because we are almost running out of time, with what's going on in Rwanda. This is now kind of like the third week we're talking about the same story.
Yeah, I think it's
either side, President Museveni in Uganda stopped all ministers or even the spokesperson of the government from commenting anything about what's going on in Rwanda. What does that tell you?
Well, of course, this is an issue that is supposed to be dealt with the highest level of diplomacy, because do not expect the spokesperson of the government of Uganda, Ofono Opondo, to come up with a remedy. This is nothing. This has nothing to do with Ofono Opondo, and that's why Museveni was so wise to tell Ofono Opondo that do not make reckless statements, because he knows his spokesperson utters out, reckless statements. And again,
we understand that spokesperson for the government represents the government. That means all the information it gets must be coming from the government. No. For this case, State House, right? Sarah Sanders does it for White House. We know the lies and the good things she always says. So just as we know with the Opondo, lies and good things she always says. So why do you stop the spokesperson to represent the country?
Because first of all, you know very well that your spokesperson cannot represent you well at the international scene, because this is an issue that has now seeked attention from the entire world. It's not only the issue of Uganda and Rwanda, no. So if you look at the international media also getting interest in such a story, then your spokesperson, Ofono Opondo, cannot handle such issues of diplomacy. Then you have to put in a pause on his mouth and to ensure that you find amicable solutions to this problem. Of course, no side, if you look at Rwanda and Uganda, that is giving us the right thing as Ugandans. And these two countries, or these two leaders, the president of Rwanda and the president of Uganda, they've decided to leave us in speculations. So since they've decided to leave us in speculations for all this long period of time, and yet our traders are suffering, they're incurring losses, yet the people in Kabale, Kisoro, who are selling Irish potatoes at the border that are perishables, they're incurring losses, then we shall come up with different school of thoughts and see that what's happening. Is it about the issue of ego between these two leaders or not?
All right.
Is it about the issue of respect or not? Because you see, these are two different sovereign republics. So if Uganda thinks that Rwanda is under us because they used to undermine Rwanda for years, and that's the perception the Rwandans have had, we have to say that time has come to an end. Rwanda right now has its borders. Uganda will never again change the borders of Rwanda. So we have to respect Rwanda as a sovereign nation. And again, our leader, Mr. Museveni, who has failed to handle such a minor issue, because this is the first time. They had a cabinet meeting last week, NRM government. Mr. Museveni never brought the issue of Rwanda and Uganda on the agenda. Ask yourself a question, why?
All right.
So these are serious issues that the president has to address. So if, as the president, the fountain of honor, your country is at stake with a country that has given us about 200 million US dollars annually, and traders are losing money right now, you can't table it, you can't bring it on the agenda of the executive meeting. Is that president working for Ugandans?
Well,
what's happening?
I'll leave that question.
Because we have to ask ourselves.
I'll leave that question to the public to ask that question.
Because now, look at the Minister of Trade, Amelia Chambadde. She was saying, now you see, Ugandans, the solution here is now to go and look for alternative markets.
Yeah,
but how easy is it for you as a trader who has your container or your trailer, parked or stranded at the Gatuna border, and you are telling me to go to Congo? So that you just go and enter Congo and get the market. You have to first do research and know where is the market. Is the market here for my produce? Because now if you're taking Irish to Congo and Congo has different alternatives for that Irish. And again, for you guys who are so happy when Museveni was giving the State of Nation address last year, and he was telling us that Uganda did well in terms of export in East Africa. It was able to beat Kenya last year. He was, praising himself about it. But for us, we say, you're lying, Mr. Museveni, because we know these guys are good at fabricating data.
Yeah, of course.
So that's the first time. And now you say, if you say that they brought, we have very many exports that get taken to Rwanda and Kenya or in East African community, and right now you say that Rwanda is not bothered about the goods that are coming from our country.
Yeah, right.
Then you have to know that Rwanda was smart. Rwanda was planning for this move, not now, but months back. Because they knew that we want food in abundance. Now they skewered the food and they blinded us that we're making more exports to Rwanda. Even Kenya did the same thing. Kenya bought all our food, the maize. In fact, it reached an extent that the maize was going to 100 shillings.
Right.
Now it's being stored in Kenya. But again, now Ugandans don't have food. So Kenya is now, because Kenya was buying the kilo of maize at 100 shillings.
Yes, right.
Now they're storing it in their country because they have all those food security, equipment to help them. And now they are selling us back the maize. We sold them at 100 shillings, but they are selling it to us at a higher cost, 500 Ugandan shillings, 700 Ugandan shillings. So now we are incurring a loss, and the government was happy last year that we made more exports. But now we are buying the maize we sold to them at 100 shillings. Now we are buying it at 700 shillings.
All right, so here we kind of go.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
To the people who are watching this live from home, wherever you are, in whichever country you're watching it from, we want to say thank you so much for being part of Live from TV and Campfire TV. You mean a lot to us, and you mean a lot to Uganda. Uganda Crossroads, we are always here. My name again is David Rubura. Here, I want to thank you so much for being part of Uganda Crossroads. Always, whenever we call you, it's really very interesting to talk about issues in Uganda, politics, economics, and everything. So
thank you.
I want to say,
and change is inevitable. Yes. Let's say people power, our power.
People power, our power. So guys, we want to thank you so much. See you again next Saturday. Coming up, Love, Sex, and Money with your girl, Show Tellers. Have a good time.